Hey guys, this is Guitar Max 42, and today we are going to do the first ever shootout between a Mexican Fender Strat, this is the 60th anniversary edition, and my Carvin Bolt T. I assembled this myself in my garage, and we're going to compare both guitars in our first ever shootout. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the features of both guitars. I'm going to go say a few things what I like about each guitar, what I don't like about each guitar, and then we're going to play a few songs on both, and we're going to ultimately let you decide on which one you guys like best. So first we're going to go through the features on the Carvin Bolt T. At the headstock of the Carvin Bolt we have their signature headstock design. I like the look of this. You can get different kinds of looks, but this is the one that I went for. It has Carvin's tuners on it with their name. The truss rod covers up here, which is nice. Some guitars have the truss rod access down here by the fretboard. You have to take the whole neck off, but it's up here, which is a nice feature. It's an angled headstock, which means that there's no string tree, and that gives it a little extra sustain. Going down the fretboard, we have an ebony fretboard, stainless steel frets on a maple neck, and I like the feel, I like the color of the ebony, and I also like the fact that it has a 22 fret scale, which I always like to get high when I need to get here. It's always nice to have an extra fret up there. There are 3 Carvin AP11 single coil pickups in here. I like these pickups a lot. The cleans sound great. It breaks up nicely. The distortion is what you get from a single coil pickup, but I can talk about that later. But the cleans on this are really, really good. Other than that, it's a standard Wilkinson tremolo, single volume control, single tone control, 5-way selector switch, just like the Strat. But unlike the Strat, I have a coil splitter here. And that coil splitter doesn't do me a whole lot of good, but what it does is if you have a 2 single coils and a humbucker, an HSS pickup configuration, I can split the humbucker into a single coil configuration, which means I can get the sound of a single coil out of the back humbucker, which is kind of nice. But since I don't have one, this is pretty much useless. I can get some different tones out of it, but not as much as I would hope to. It's a solid mahogany body with a bolt-on neck. The back, I like the color. I assembled this all myself, which means that hopefully it will stay together for as long as possible. But overall, it's a very well designed guitar and very well thought out. And overall, it's actually a great player's guitar. Headstock of the Fender Strat, we have the classic 60s headstock look. Now my headstock is painted red because it's a 60th anniversary edition, so it's a Fender special run. There we go. 6-a-side, just like the Carvin, tuning pegs. This is not an angled headstock, which means that I have a string tree and the sustain suffers a little bit. But overall, I think it's a good configuration for the headstock. Moving down the neck, it's a solid maple neck with a rosewood fretboard with dot inlays, stainless steel frets. Only 21 frets though. I can't get as high as on the Carvin Bolt, but these are jumbo frets, so they're much bigger than the ones on the Carvin. Now these 3 pickups here, my guitar is a fat Strat, which means that I have a humbucker in the back, so I can get a little bit brighter sounds out of this back pickup. Now these pickups are pretty good pickups. This was my favorite guitar to play out of for lead kind of stuff. Now these pickups, not as bright as the Bolts, but you can get a lot of Fender sounds out of it, obviously. Wilkinson tremolo, again, I like to have the whammy bar. Single master volume and 2 tone controls. No coil splitter on this guitar, so I have an extra tone control where the coil splitter was. 5-way selector switch, alder body and a candy apple red finish, so it's a much lighter guitar. And overall, I think this guitar was my first guitar, and I think it's held up nicely for the last 4 years. So let's go through each guitar and see what's good and bad about each one. Let's start with the good. Now, this guitar was actually my first guitar. when I was playing it, I noticed that it's very, very comfortable when you fit your hand in. Some guitars have really thick necks. This one has a nice feel to my hand. It's a lot thicker than the Bolt. The Bolt has a much thinner neck, but this, I like the feel of this neck. You can move up and down really well, even though it's a lacquered finish on the neck. Things that I like, I always like the floating tremolo. It's really helpful to get when I need a whammy bar. I can always put one on if I need to. Hardtails give more sustain, but I like to have the ability to move my notes up or down. And it's a very simple guitar to use. You don't have a whole lot of extra features on it like a endless sustainer or any of those fancy gadgets on any other guitars. It's very simple, straightforward, 2 tone controls, master volume, and you're done. I normally play out of this back pickup because I like the sound of this pickup particularly. For some reason, this pickup gives great cleans, and it also does pretty good distortion. I like the distortion that comes from this. It's not as heavy as some other guitars, but it's a good fit to go with these 2 kinds of pickups, so it's a good setup. Now, the things that I don't like about this guitar. This guitar has a few things wrong with it. First, and it's all down here with the pickups. These 2 pickups here are a problem because for some reason, every time I play them, they sound muddy. It might be my amp, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that it's these 2 pickups. For some reason, I can't get any good tone out of them like I can with the Carvin Bolt. The Carvin Bolt, the single coils on that guitar are much better than the one on this. When they're set up, I definitely go with the Bolt. It's a very light body, but so you don't get that good distortion out of it. If you're playing out of this back pickup, it can get pretty good, but it's just nowhere close to something that like a Les Paul that has a very heavy body. So it's a very light body, and you can't really get any distortion out of it. Some people can say that Fenders really aren't used for distortion, but sometimes it's always helpful to have at least a decent distortion, which this one, I believe, doesn't. It's a short list of cons, but I think this guitar is a really great guitar. But let's see what the Carvin Bolt has to offer. And now the Carvin. This guitar is my newest guitar, and I assembled it myself. Carvin sells kits where you can assemble the guitar yourself, you can finish the guitar, finish the body yourself, finish the neck, assemble the electronics, everything you can do on your own, and you can really learn how a guitar works and how it's put together. So that's what I did, and I built this. This is custom color with a tongue-oiled neck. The reason I tongue-oiled it is because on the Fender, when I move up and down, I notice that if I play for long periods of time, my hand starts sticking to the fretboard. And I did some research on this, and apparently it has to do with the finish on the back of the neck. So I chose tongue oil. And tongue oil, when I start playing, the natural oils in my hand get into the back of the neck, and it just glides over the fretboard, which is really nice. So I can play this guitar up and down as much as I want, and my hand won't stick. It's a very heavy guitar, so when I'm playing, it's well weighted. It's really well balanced, so the heavy body with the light neck, that's my personal preference. Some people might not like that, but that's just me. But the best part about this guitar are the 3 AP11 pickups. These pickups sound great. When I'm playing out of the front 2, I can get a nice tone. It just sounds much better than on my Fender. For some reason, I just don't know why. The back pickup sounds great, but on the Fender, again, that pickup takes the cake. This one is close second to the one on my Fender. And again, it's a very simple guitar. It's just not much going on. You have a selector switch, you have a knob, you have a tone knob, you have a volume knob, you have a Wilkinson tremolo. So it's a plug-and-play guitar. That's what I like to think about it. You don't have to worry about it too much. Now, the things I don't like about this guitar, God, it's a short list. When I'm playing this guitar, sometimes I have tight strings on this. So when I start tapping, when I'm tapping, I can't get any noise out of it. When I'm tapping, see, my volume's rolled all the way up. They're very, very quiet, and I can't figure out why, but when you're tapping on this fretboard, the notes just don't ring out, and that's annoying when I'm doing solos. It's also not well balanced. I just did the pickups exactly how I like it, and I fiddled around with them a little bit, but the bass and the treble just really never align. So when I'm playing, I get high bass notes, low treble notes, and it's all over the place. So you need to do a lot of tinkering with that if you want to get it perfectly set up. Tuning knobs are fine. It's a short list. I really, really like this guitar. There's not much bad about it. So with that, let's go into just playing both guitars. Okay, let's see what these two guitars sound like. I'm going to play the same chord progression. I'm going to keep all the amp settings the same so you can really hear the difference between the two tones. I'm playing out of the neck position, then I'll go back to the bridge position. Volumes at 10, and both knobs are rolled up to max. Let's see what this sounds like. This is the crunch setting for the Carvin Bolt. This is the crunch setting on my Fender Strat. And there you have it. There's a shootout between the Carvin Bolt T guitar and the Fender Mexican Strat. Both guitars are great player's guitar. I would recommend to anybody looking for a guitar into the $500 to $700 price range. But my favorite of the two has to be the Carvin Bolt. I'm going to get a ton of hate mail for this, but I really, really enjoy this guitar. I assembled it myself. It sounds great, it plays great, and overall I think it's the better player's guitar. If you like this video, you can rate, comment, or subscribe to my channel. But if you didn't like this video, send me a suggestion and I might turn into a future video. I'm GuitarMax42 and I'll see you in the next video.